So the brother you've been talking to seems okay, everything's looking okay, but then you notice something feels a bit off, right? And I get this a lot from sisters. So they're picking up things, but there's certain things that they can't access in the brother. Some sort of something closed off, or something that they're not sharing, or they want to ask something, but he blocks her off, or isn't fully open. Um, and she senses it. Women, we're very intuitive. We sense it, and we sense that something's not, you know, quite comfortable. Although everything else seems to tick the boxes, something's just not comfortable. And so you approach the brother and you say, look, I want to be able to talk to you more openly about this subject, or I want to be able to ask a particular thing, or and then he says, his response is, no, it's because we're not married. Once we're married, and honestly, I've heard this so many times. Sisters relate this story to me so many times. How do you reconcile those? On one hand, you think that you've got this person who is ticking all the boxes, but then your intuition tells you there's some part of them that they're not open about. And I talked to my husband about this actually, and I said, what is it? Is it something about men? Do you think it's because they're being, righteous and not wanting to cross boundaries? And he just started to laugh. And he said, well, are there other things that he's opening up to her about, or saying to her, that are things that actually you wouldn't do before marriage? That are things that actually you would probably say after marriage. And that's kind of a way for you to really think about this. If he's picking and choosing, so he's prepared to talk to you maybe about certain things, crossing certain lines, about certain subjects, and he's okay to do that. And then when you start to talk about maybe something vulnerable, or an uncomfortable subject that you're worried about and you want to tell him, but he's like, no, I don't want to talk about that. Why? And then he says, but that part I can do after marriage. Why is there a promised future for that part, but not for, he's quite okay to talk to you about other things? He's picking and choosing. And for me, that would be really something to consider. When I'm saying about sisters asking the brother to be more open, it's usually more emotional things. So an example could be, they want to talk about something uncomfortable, might be about a past trauma or something that's happened, and they want to know a little bit more about the brother's mindset. And he says, oh, no, I'm not going to talk about that, Or he can be quite rough with her, or be a bit cruel with her, in the way he talks to her. And then she will say something like, oh, well, you're not being very kind, you're not being very loving. And he'll say, oh, yeah, because, that's for after marriage. No, there's some balance. Just talk to somebody with a bit of respect. You don't need to be overly loving or under loving. You just need to talk to somebody with respect. That person's going to know that, that person has some dignity and some honor for me. That's what you want. I don't believe that people change after marriage. And I'm being honest with you. I think what happens is people's emotions get involved before, and then they don't see certain things. But I think that, people's innate qualities, who they are, can be found even before marriage. You don't need to talk to somebody for years and years to know that. If somebody's willing to discuss difficult things with you, that could be about your finances, a health issue, family issues. It could be talking about who's going to work and who's not, about children, anything that is, conversations where you are going to get different opinions. But what you want is a person who's open and honest and willing to have that conversation with you. If during that, there's contempt and there's criticism and there's like, what the hell are you saying, and I'm not going to listen to that, or there's judgment, or as you're trying to talk you can feel them laughing at you, or not taking you seriously, or not allowing your opinion to come forward, or even to consider, then this person's saying this to me, I've got this opinion, it could be anything. It could be somebody who spends a lot to somebody who saves. You're having that conversation and you say to, your future husband, I'm somebody who likes to, spend money. I like to buy nice things. And then he's like, oh my gosh, no, you've got to save. You've got to buy for the future. And then he says to you, oh my gosh, are you going to spend all my money then? And you can already feel like they are just not prepared to hear. They don't have the skill set to go deeper. And one of the ways that you recognize how does somebody go deeper is just to have the ability to ask, tell me more about that. You said that you like to spend. Why is that important to you? Because when we grew up, we always had to save. We didn't have a lot and we had to save to build up for what we had. And the other person might say, it's because we always had things. And so then you've got to a deeper level, you've dropped. Then you can have the conversation around, well, what would happen if at some points I didn't have a lot? Because you're used to having so much. And it just becomes much deeper, the connection becomes something else. You're learning about each other and you can grow together. That's the sort of person you want to look for. And if you are not finding that, if you're finding even before marriage, I've had sisters who are, the brother says, I want to talk to you, they've got on, and all of a sudden, he won't pick up his call. He'll ghost her. He'll say I was busy, or he won't even give her an answer. And they're just like playing these games, with each other. And I watch it and I think, subhanAllah, like, what you're seeing now is what you're going to take into the marriage. And then you can't escape. It's not like it's just somebody that you met on Muzmatch or Single Muslim or your auntie from next door, but it won't be like that. You're living with that person. If something happens with the children, if something happens at home, and this person's character is somebody who just, when they decide that they can't handle something emotionally, just ghost you and block you off, what are you going to do? How are you going to manage? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times? Because they don't have emotional capacity to cope. You want to look for somebody who has emotional intelligence, but to find that you have also got to be emotionally intelligent. You've got to sit and do the work for yourself. You've got to recognize, these are the things that trigger me. These are the things that I value. These are the things that, I want to see in a brother. These are the places that I'm going to go. If there's a difficult conversation that I'm not able to have, I'm going to learn the skill to have that. I'm going to learn the skill to not to be reactive. I'm going to learn the skill of listening, because believe me, you're in one space, okay? You're going to both have stresses and worries, and when children come along, that stress and that worry just gets higher and higher. And if you're not with somebody who is able to navigate their emotions and you're not able to navigate yours, you're going to clash. And you're both going to be looking to each other. You didn't give me this. You didn't give me that, because you're not in a good place. It doesn't mean you don't support each other. If anything, people who are more self-aware, who are more emotionally intelligent, tend to be able to give each other more because they can regulate themselves. So if I'm able to regulate, if I'm able to, when I'm angry or I'm upset, take a bit of time before I respond or I react, if I can think things through, and I have that capacity, and say my spouse has that capacity as well, when we come together, we can have a productive conversation, then rather than one that's just like an explosive one where we just say whatever we want to each other and we've not really understood each other at all, and for the future nothing changes. We don't really learn anything from that because we can't regulate ourselves. Just to clarify on the matter of the brother not being so open, you might think that it's because the sister's asking them to do something that's inappropriate, outside of the Islamic guidelines, and it sounds crazy, but this is actually happening in our young people, and it's something that we do need to talk about. We can ignore it all day, but I'm finding more and more people, especially brothers, saying, "Oh, I'm not going to get married until I know you better. I need to know you better," and it's, subhanallah, it makes no difference. You can't know somebody any better. People grow together. You only know somebody at this stage. Tomorrow I'm going to be a different person. All we can go by is those values that we have, and hope that those, you know, values are compatible, you know, and you have the Islamic principles. If you're saying, oh, you know, I'm practicing and all of this, but I need to get to know you better, that doesn't make any sense. It puts the sister in a vulnerable situation, and if she says no, then he just walks away. And sisters are also, obviously he's walking away because there are sisters there who are prepared to do that, and then they wonder why they don't get the good, like the guys that are committed, because he didn't respect you before you got married. No, there should be no suggestion of that, especially from a guy. But you seem to think that, oh no, it's because he likes me. He doesn't. He doesn't like you. He doesn't have respect for you. And you have to remember that.